You might notice that my channel has a certain aesthetic to it, especially if you've seen some of my archived content, in which trippy kaleidoscope outros were used to inaccurately mimic a psychedelic experience. I also used Rez gameplay, one of the trippiest video games I knew, while giving commentary on the videos I watched in trying to add to the whole hallucinogenic experience. But there's an even trippier looking video game that I could have used in those videos that would have baffled and bewildered anyone who paid attention to it. LSD Dream Emulator is an exploration game published and developed by Asmik Ace Entertainment for the PlayStation in 1998. It's an exploration game that lets the player explore surreal environments from a first-person perspective while not urging them towards any clear objective, with little interactive objects but just letting the player use simple navigation controls. The game's premise is to explore levels, or dreams as they're technically referred to as, and navigating in between them using objects or certain tunnels the player can walk into. While the environments are static, the textures may be occasionally swapped, and may also feature random objects, characters, and animals roaming around to add some sort of interactivity and variety. Most dreams end when either the player gets transported to another dream, or end after the 10-minute mark, which they do automatically. After a dream has ended, one day passes and the player will be woken up and shown a map-type graph of sorts, which shows the theme of the dreams they've had. Said graph rates dreams in relation to being an upper, downer, static, or dynamic dream, and as the player continues to play through more and more dreams while contemplating what life decisions led them up to that point, the game will add more variety to the textures, making them even more surreal and psychedelic. To add more to the mindfuckishness of the game, sometimes when starting a new dream, a video can play. Videos that only go to bewilder the player even more. Some parts of starting dreams even just have stills of Japanese text, but often don't make sense, probably because they were just too abstract for the game designers to even create. After the player has been through a certain number of days, the flashback option will appear in the main menu, which lets the player replay a watered-down version of their previous dream. One specific entity, dubbed the Gray Man or Shadow Man, prevents the player from being able to use the flashback option and undoes the gameplay progress made from that dream. Osamu Sato, Japanese digital artist and photographer, composer, and the game's producer, wrote the soundtrack for the game himself. It has over 500 patterns of music, and they change depending on the theme of the dream the player is in. He really did go all out with this one. They're variations of what are the same simple compositions, and are produced with a myriad of different electronic sound effects, resulting in the player further inquiring as to what they're doing with their lives. The soundtrack was given away as a bonus CD on a limited edition release of the game titled Lucy in the Sky with Dynamite, obviously parodying Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles, which was also known for having the acronym LSD, but unintentionally, whereas the same can't be said for the game. Additionally, and in an interesting turn of events, a book with excerpts from the Dream Journal written by Nishikawa, titled Lovely Sweet Dream, was also given away, with the limited edition release of the excerpts being presented alongside a piece of artwork created by various artists. The idea for the game was conceived by Sato after experimenting with CD-ROM technology, in which he created 3D animated videos with a dimension of interactivity. Sato's idea wasn't to create games, but to use the PlayStation as a means to create contemporary works of art. Although its official title is In Life the Sensuous Dream and In Limbo the Silent Dream, with the book being titled Lovely Sweet Dream, the abbreviation is obviously a reference to the psychedelic drug lysergic acid diethylamide, also commonly known as LSD, or the simple street name acid. It does match up with some of the effects LSD in that it has a psychedelic experience often done in trips, but isn't a pinpoint accurate depiction of what a trip on it would look like. What does this have to do with anything? I've always been intrigued by the psychedelic, more abstract style of certain types of media, specifically in art and video games. This kind of aesthetic hasn't really been immensely present in many video games, so I'd be immensely interested to see a few that fall under the genre of psychedelic exploration or just psychedelics in general. This whole style not really being abundant is why I decided to go with it for my channel aesthetic. Like anyone with the mind of an infant, I really enjoy flashing colors and complex art, so I'm trying to reincorporate the style into parts of my channel as much as I can without going too over the top.